Here is a great, deep, detailed, and extremely simple summary of the entire topic. Administration of justice in the Sultanate, explained like you're learning for the first time. Deep, detailed summary. Justice under the Sultanate. 1. The Sultan, supreme source of justice. The Sultan, king, was the head of the justice system in the kingdom. He was called the fountainhead of justice, meaning all justice flowed from him. He was responsible for creating a fair system for solving problems, making sure nobody was treated whether rich or deciding cases himself when needed. Key point. The Sultan was like a Supreme Court judge, a lawmaker, and the guardian of justice, all in one person. 2. The Sultan's judicial role. The Sultan was not just a ruler, he was also a judge. He heard cases personally, especially big or sensitive ones, acted as the highest appeal court. People could come to him if lower judges were unfair. Set up and controlled the entire justice system. Key point. People trusted that if all courts failed, the Sultan would give final and fair justice. 3. Religious disputes. Help from scholars. Some problems were about religion. For example, mosque leadership, religious taxes, or religious law. In these cases, the Sultan didn't decide alone. He got help from the Chief Sadr, a top religious officer, the Mufti, a religious law expert who gave legal advice, called a fatwa. Key point. The Sultan respected Islamic law and took religious advice seriously when needed. 4. Other cases. Help from Chief Qazi. In non-religious matters, e.g. land disputes, theft, family fights, the Sultan took help from the Chief Qazi. The Chief Qazi was the head judge of the kingdom, second only to the Sultan. Key point. The Sultan worked with top legal experts to ensure justice in everyday matters. 5. Chief Qazi, next highest judge. The Chief Qazi was chosen personally by the Sultan, the highest judge after the Sultan, in charge of judges in the provinces, villages, towns. The person who heard appeals against smaller judges. Key point. The Chief Qazi acted like a high court judge and kept an eye on all other judges in the country. 6. Location and authority of the Chief Qazi. The Chief Qazi lived in the capital city, like Delhi. He solved important legal cases, supervised and controlled judges in other towns and cities, could reverse bad decisions made by lower judges. Key point. The Chief Qazi was like the central pillar of the court system, maintaining fairness across the whole kingdom. 7. Chief Qazi as Sadri Jahan. Religious head. The Chief Qazi also held a religious position. He was also the Chief Sadr of the entire kingdom. His title was Sadr-e-Jahan, which means religious head of the world kingdom. He handled Islamic religious matters, oversaw religious charities, endowments, waqf, and education, appointed local religious officials. Key point. The Chief Qazi had 2 jobs. 1. Legal, head of all judges. 2. Religious, head of all religious officers. Famous example, Minhaj-ud-Din Siraj. Minhaj-ud-Din Siraj was a famous historian and Chief Qazi. He wrote important history books, Tabaqat-i-Nasiri, worked as Chief Qazi in the capital for a long time, set an example of being both a scholar and judge. Key point. Judges were often highly educated, respected, and held multiple roles in society. Final summary at a glance. Role, duties, helped by Sultan. Final judge, head of all justice, created fair system. Mufti, Chief Sadr, Chief Qazi. Chief Qazi supervised all judges, heard appeals, advised Sultan. Chief Sadr Sadr Jahan, top religious officer, managed religious endowments. Expert in religious law, gave fatwas. Local judges, decided smaller local cases, supervised by Chief Qazi. In one line, the Sultanate's justice system was a mix of royal power, expert judges, and religious scholars, all working together to keep fairness and law in society. Let me know if you want this as a comic strip, a flowchart, a role-play script, a revision quiz. I'll make it super easy and fun for you. Here is a great, deep summary of the passage you gave, in the simplest, clear idea explained in full, like teaching a total beginner or child. It covers every role and practice in the justice system of the Delhi Sultanate, especially outside the capital. Great, deep, detailed summary. Local justice under the Delhi Sultanate. Justice was not only in the capital. It was spread across the empire. Justice in the Sultanate was not limited to Delhi or the king's palace. The kingdom was divided into provinces, like states, and important towns had their own judges, called qazis. These qazis were appointed by the chief qazi, who was the highest judge in the whole empire and lived in the capital. Key point. The chief qazi chose local qazis to run the justice system in all major parts of the kingdom. 2. The qazis, local Islamic judges. A qazi was a Muslim judge who solved legal disputes. They followed Islamic law, Sharia, when solving cases. They were present in provinces and cities, not in small villages. Key point. Qazis played the main role in urban justice for both Muslims and mixed communities. 3. Daddy Bak or Amir-e-Dad, officer similar to today's city magistrate. Apart from the Qazi, there was another officer called Daddy Bak, means giver of justice, or Amir-e-Dad, means commander of justice. His job was similar to a modern-day city magistrate. Solved small crimes, settled urban disputes, worked under the Sultan's administration. Key point. He handled city-level law and order, a legal officer, not just a policeman. 4. Hindu-only cases were judged by panchayats. If a legal case involved only Hindus, the Sultanate did not interfere. These were usually handled by Hindu panchayats, councils made of village elders. Panchayats gave decisions based on local customs, not Islamic law. Key point. The Sultanate respected community laws and allowed Hindus to solve their own issues within their own system. 5. Mixed cases, Hindus, Muslims, were handled by qazis. If a legal case had both Muslims and Hindus, the qazi judged it. This was because only a formal judge could handle intercommunity disputes. Qazis were trained in legal procedures and were seen as neutral, officials of the Sultanate. Key point. Mixed religion cases needed official court involvement, not local councils. 6. The Kotwal, police head and also a legal officer. In towns, the Kotwal was the chief of police, but he also acted like a judge in minor crimes. He could catch criminals, investigate complaints, send accused people to trial, sometimes give small punishments. Key point. The Kotwal was both a police chief and a basic level judge, like a mix of police and court roles. Criminal law was extremely harsh. The criminal system was based on strict punishment to stop crimes. Punishments included torture, hurting the body to make someone confess, mutilation, cutting off body parts like hands or noses. Key point. The Sultanate used fear and pain to stop people from breaking the law. It was not a gentle system. 8. The slave kings let villages handle their own justice. The early Delhi sultans, called slave kings like Iltutmish and Balban, did not interfere in rural or village life. The villages were left to govern themselves. The Sultanate did not send judges or officers to villages. Panchayats, councils of village elders, acted as local courts for rural people. Key point. The government focused on cities and big towns, while villages ran their own small justice systems. Final summary table. At a glance. Role place, what they did, special notes. Chief Qazi, top judge of the whole empire, appointed local Qazis. Qazi, local judge in provinces, cities, handled legal disputes under Islamic law. Daddy Bak, Amir-e-Dad, city justice officer, similar to a city magistrate. Kotwal, police chief, also judged minor crimes. Pant, village councils, solved Hindu-only or local village cases. Qazis, again, handled Hindu-Muslim disputes. Only official court could judge these. Criminal law, harsh and severe, used torture and body cutting as punishments. Slave king's policy, no interference in rural life. Villages managed their own justice. Overall deep insight. The Delhi Sultanate created a justice system where cities had official judges and law officers. Villages handled justice on their own, mostly through Hindu panchayats. Religion played a big role. Hindus had their own system. Mixed cases went to official courts. The system was strict, and law-breaking could lead to harsh physical punishment. The sultanate focused more on towns and cities, not on interfering in every village. Would you like this turned into a comic strip, a mind map, a flashcard quiz, or a chart with images? Let me know. I'll make it even easier to learn. Here is the great, deepest, and most detailed summary of the full passage you gave, in the simplest, clearest, most beginner-friendly language. This is designed like a master explanation that covers every aspect of 13th century Muslim society and culture during the Delhi Sultanate, especially under the slave dynasty like Iltutmish and Balban. Deep, detailed summary. Muslim society and culture during the 13th century Delhi Sultanate. 1. Ruling class. Who held power? The rulers of the Delhi Sultanate in the 13th century were mostly Turks. Turks were not native to India. They came from Central Asia and had a long tradition of military strength and strict Islamic rule. These rulers belonged to different tribes, small warrior groups. Other foreign groups were also present in India. Persians from modern-day Iran, from Arabia or the Middle East. These foreigners did not usually rule, but were part of society as scholars, religious leaders, or merchants. 2. Racial superiority and discrimination. The Turks had a superiority complex. This means they thought they were better than everyone else. They believed in racial purity, the idea that their bloodline and race were the purest and most noble among Muslims. As a result, they did not mix freely with Indian-born Muslims, also called converted Muslims. Even though the number of Indian Muslims was increasing, they were kept out of high government positions. The Turks controlled the administration, government work, and didn't trust Indian Muslims with power. Example, an Indian Muslim was not. 3. Fusion of races, intermarriage and mixed population. In practice, however, intermarriage and social mixing happened. Turks married local Indian Muslims. Many refugees from Central Asia, running from war or Mongol invasions, settled in India. Even Mongols, once enemies, started converting to Islam and settled in India. This led to a fusion of different Muslim races in India. The society was no longer just pure Turks. It became hybrid, a mixture of Indian, Turkic, Afghan, Persian, and even Mongol influences. The idea of a pure Turkish Muslim society slowly faded, and a composite Muslim culture developed in India. 2 major classes in Muslim society. Muslim society was divided into 2 main groups based on what people did for a living. A. Men of the sword. These were military men, warriors, and rulers. The Turks mostly belonged to this class. They handled the army, battles, and administration. B. Men of the pen. These were scholars, teachers, religious leaders, poets, and writers. Most of them were non-Turks, especially Persians and Arabs. They were respected for their knowledge and wisdom, not for fighting. These people taught in madrasas, Islamic schools, gave sermons in mosques, and wrote books in Persian, the court language. 5. Hierarchy among the nobles, ranks of power. The ruling elite had a rank-based system, like a ladder. Amir, lower official or commander. Malik, higher rank than Amir. Controlled larger areas or troops. Khan, even more powerful, senior leader. Ulugh Khan, the highest rank below the Sultan. Only one person had this title at a time. The Turks dominated these ranks, and it was very hard for others. 6. Slaves in society. From a special group in Muslim society was the slaves, but not ordinary slaves. These were military slaves who were converted to Islam. Most were born to non-Muslim parents, like Hindus or Mongols, and were sold or taken in wars. They were raised by Muslim masters, trained, educated, and taught to be loyal. Over time, many of them rose to high ranks like Amir or Malik, gained power and land, became trusted advisors and army commanders. One slave, Balban, became so powerful that he rose to the highest rank of Khan and then became Sultan. 7. Urban life. Muslim society in the 13th century. Muslim society in India was mostly urban, meaning people lived in cities, not villages. These cities had many different types of people. Soldiers, working for the Sultan. Administrators, clerks, tax collectors, officers. Traders, selling goods in markets. Artisans, people who made things, like blacksmiths, weavers. Shopkeepers, clerks, record keepers. Beggars and common laborers, so not all Muslims were rulers. Many were just regular people trying to earn a living in urban markets, streets, and workshops. 8. A changing society. Complex but evolving. While the Turkish rulers tried to stay separate, the reality of society was more diverse and mixed. The Indian Muslim population grew, intermarriages became common, and new Muslims, like Mongols, kept arriving. Over time, India's Muslim culture became unique, with Persian literature, Turkish military traditions, Indian music, food, and customs. A blending of languages, ideas, and people. This was the foundation of Indo-Islamic culture, which grew more deeply in later centuries under the Khiljis, Tughlaqs, and Mughals. Ash. Final super deep summary table. Aspect. Ruling class, mostly Turks, came from Central Asian tribes. Other foreigners, Persians, Afghans, Arabs also lived in India. Turks' attitude, believed they were racially superior, kept Indian Muslims out of power. Reality of mixing. Intermarriage with Indian Muslims, Central Asian refugees, and Mongols, hybrid society. Muslim population became racially and culturally mixed. 2 social classes, men of the sword, rulers, Turks, men of the pen, scholars, non-Turks. Ruling titles, Amir, Malik Khan, Ulugh Khan. Slave promotion, slaves could rise in ranks, only Balban reached rank of Khan and Sultan. City society, urban, soldiers, traders, artisans, clerks, shopkeepers, and beggars. Cultural fusion, mixture of Persian, Turkish, and Indian culture, start of Indo-Islamic life. Would you like me to make this into a comic strip? A chart or infographic? A quiz or flashcards? A map or timeline of society? Just say the word. I'll make it fun and unforgettable. Here is a greatly detailed and beginner-friendly summary of the passage about Muslim religious groups in 13th century India during the Delhi Sultanate, especially under the Turkish rulers like Iltutmish, Razia, and Balban. Muslim religious groups in 13th century Delhi Sultanate. Detailed summary. 1. Main group, Sunni Muslims. The majority of the Muslim population in India at this time were Sunnis. The ruling class of the Delhi Sultanate. Turkish sultans also followed Sunni Islam. Sunnis followed the orthodox traditional interpretation of Islam and believed in the first 4 caliphs after Prophet Muhammad. They held political power, controlled the government army. Think of Sunnis as the mainstream rulers and religious leaders of that time. 2. Smaller group. Shia Muslims. Shia Muslims were a smaller group compared to Sunnis. They mostly lived in Multan and Sindh, now in Pakistan, but many also lived in Delhi and other important cities. The Sunnis and Shias did not get along. There was strong dislike between them. The Shias were discriminated, even hated by the Sunnis. The Shias tried more than once political control, but each time they were severely punished, arrested, defeated, or executed. So, the Shias were a religious minority, often mistreated and crushed when they tried to rise politically. 3. Third group, Sufi Muslims, mystics. Apart from Sunnis and Shias, there was a third important group, the Sufis. Sufis were Muslim saints, mystics, and spiritual leaders. They believed in love for God, kindness, and inner spirituality, rather than just following rules and rituals. Sufis lived very simple lives, practiced piety, devotion, and poverty, and usually stayed away from city life. They lived in dargahs, shrines, or small houses, often in peaceful places outside towns. They were known for helping the poor, healing the sick, and spreading peace. 4. Sufi followers and teachings. Sufi saints had many disciples, students, or followers. These disciples were initiated into the Sufi path. They learned to pray deeply, serve others, and live simply. Over time, these Sufis and their disciples helped many non-Muslims convert to Islam, not by force, but through love and inspiration. People converted willingly, impressed by the kindness, honesty, and spiritual wisdom of the Sufis. Example: a Hindu villager visited a Sufi saint, was treated with love, and voluntarily became Muslim. And 5. Two major Sufi orders, schools. There were two famous Sufi orders, paths or branches. 1. Chishtiya order, founded by Muin-ud-Din Chishti, based in Ajmer, Rajasthan, known for love, tolerance, and serving people regardless of religion. Part 2. Suhrawardiya order, founded by Bahauddin Zariya, based in Multan, now in Pakistan, also emphasized service, simplicity, and devotion. Both orders helped spread Islam peacefully across North India. Final points to remember. Category details. Sunni Muslims. Majority. Held power. Disliked Shias. Shia Muslims. Minority. Lived in Multan, Sindh, Delhi. Tried to gain power but were punished. Sufis. Spiritual Muslims. Lived simply. Focused on love and devotion to God. Sufi disciples helped spread Islam peacefully to many non-Muslims. Chishtiya order. Founded by Muin-ud-Din Chishti in Ajmer. The Suhrawardiya order. Founded by Bahauddin Zakaria in Multan. Summary in one sentence. In 13th century Delhi Sultanate, most Muslims were Sunnis who ruled the state, while Shias faced discrimination, and peaceful Sufi saints like Chishti and Zakaria spread Islam through love and spirituality, not force. Would you like a comic strip version of this? A chart or mind map? A mini quiz to test what you've learned? Just say it. I'll make it. Here is a great, deeply detailed, super simple summary of the full passage on society, education, art, and real culture during the Turkish rule in the Delhi Sultanate, 13th century. Summary: culture, education, and reality of the Delhi Sultanate, 1206 to 1290 CE. 1. Love for learning by some rulers. Some Turkish sultans, like Balban, loved learning. They invited scholars, poets, historians, and religious teachers to their courts. The most famous literary figures were Amir Khusro, a poet, writer, and musician. Amir Hassan, another great poet. They wrote in Persian, which was the official language of the Sultanate. Their works were so excellent that people in other countries also read them. 2. Books and education. Many books were written on history, about kings and rulers, theology, religion, fiction, imaginative stories. 2 types of schools existed. Maktab, primary school for children, usually next to mosques. Madrasa, higher learning centers like colleges. Sultans like Iltutmish built colleges in Delhi and Multan and gave money and support to them. 3. Art and architecture. The 2 most famous art forms. Architecture, making beautiful buildings, especially mosques. Calligraphy, artistic writing in Arabic and Persian. Turkish rulers loved stylish buildings. They brought design ideas from Central Asia, domes, arches, minarets. Famous buildings were built by Kutbuddin Aybak, Iltutmish, and Balban. 4. Music. Strict religious people, called Orthodox, believed music was bad, but music still survived, especially through Sufis and poets like Amir Khusro. 5. Culture only for the rich and powerful. Some modern writers say the Delhi Sultanate was a culture state, but this is an exaggeration. Real culture was limited only to the royal court, the capital city, Delhi. Villages and common people had no access to learning, art, or culture. 6. What the Sultanate really focused on. The Delhi Sultanate was actually a military state. Its main goals were controlling the land with soldiers, collecting taxes, revenue, maintaining law and order. It did not care about people's education, health or happiness, cultural growth or common people. 7. Foreign rule in Indian land. The Sultanate lasted 85 years, but it was still seen as a foreign government. The rulers came from Central Asia. They ruled using Persian, not Indian languages. They didn't mix deeply with Indian culture or people. Final one-line summary. The Delhi Sultanate had some culture and education, but it was enjoyed only by kings and nobles, while the common people lived under a military state that cared more about power than about people. Would you like a comic strip, infographic, or flashcards for this now? Here is a great, deeply detailed, and super simple summary of the entire topic about the slave dynasty, Mamluk dynasty of Delhi. The slave dynasty, Mamluk dynasty, deep and simple summary. 1. What is the slave dynasty? The slave dynasty, also called the Mamluk dynasty, ruled Delhi from 1206 to 1290 CE. The name Mamluk comes from Arabic, meaning owned or slave. These rulers were originally Turkish slaves, trained to become soldiers, not household workers. Some of them became generals and later kings. 2. Why is it called the Mamluk dynasty? In the Muslim world, especially in the Middle East and Central Asia, it was common to buy and train slaves for war. These military slaves were well-trained, loyal, and powerful. They were different from domestic slaves who worked in homes or as artisans. These Mamluks gained such power that they started their own dynasties, just like in Delhi. 3. Three sub-dynasties within the slave dynasty. 1. Qutbi dynasty, 1206 to 1211 CE, started by Qutbuddin Aibak, ruled for only about 4 to 5 years. He was a former slave of Muhammad Ghori, became independent after Ghori's death. 2. First Ilbari dynasty, 1211 to 1266 CE, founded by Iltutmish, son-in-law of Aibak. He was a strong ruler and considered the real organizer of the Delhi Sultanate. Brought stability, created administrative structure. 3. Second Ilbari dynasty, 1266 to 1290 CE, started by Balban, one of Iltutmish's slaves who rose in rank. He ruled with a strong hand and tried to make the Sultanate more powerful and disciplined. Qutbuddin Aibak, the first ruler. Aibak was originally a Turkish slave bought by Muhammad Ghori. He rose to become Ghori's trusted general. He played a big role in defeating Prithviraj Chauhan at the Second Battle of Taran, 1192 CE. After Ghori's death in 1206, Aibak declared himself the independent ruler of North India. He made Lahore and later Delhi his capital. He ruled till 1210 CE and laid the foundation of Muslim rule in India. 5. His achievements and role. He raised a strong army, a standing army, took control of large parts of North India, supported art and architecture, including starting the construction of the Qutub Minar, built the Quwat-ul-Islam Mosque near Qutub Minar. Though he ruled for a short time, his actions gave birth to the Delhi Sultanate. The importance of the slave dynasty. First Muslim dynasty to rule Delhi after the Ghurid Empire, showed that slaves could rise to great power through loyalty and talent. They created the basic foundation for future rulers like Khiljis, Tughlaqs, and others. Started many administrative and cultural traditions in India that lasted for centuries. Final summary table. Topic. Meaning of Mamluk. Meaning of Mamluk, Arabic for owned, refers to military slaves. Who were they? Turkish slaves trained as soldiers. Some became kings. Dynasty. Duration 1206 to 1290 CE. First ruler, Qutbuddin Aibak. Role of Aibak, slave of Ghori, became independent king of Delhi. 3 sub-dynasties. Qutbi Aibak, Ilbari first, Ilbari second, Balban. Contributions. Built mosques, started Muslim rule, formed army, laid Delhi's foundation. Historical importance. First Muslim empire in India, started Delhi Sultanate. If you'd like a comic strip or a timeline chart of this, I can make that too. Just say the word. Let's now explain everything in even more depth, with extra examples, simple words, and step-by-step understanding, like a friendly teacher teaching a total beginner or child. I'll break it down clearly and slowly. Let's go through this like a historical story. Who was Ghori, and what happened in 1206? Named Muhammad of Ghor, also called Ghori, was a powerful Muslim ruler. He had made a big empire by defeating Indian kings like Prithviraj Chauhan in battles, like the Second Battle of Tehran in 1192. He gave control of different regions, like Delhi, Multan, Lahore, to his trusted generals, like Qutbuddin Aibak, in charge of Delhi, Tajuddin Yaldaus, in charge of Ghazni, Nasiruddin Kabacha, in charge of Multan and Buch. But in 1206 CE, Muhammad Ghori died. Since he had no children, there was no clear new king or a full empire. So all his governors thought, why should I listen to others? Now I want to become the main ruler. 2. Tajuddin Yaldaus claimed Delhi. Yaldaus was ruling in Ghazni, now in Afghanistan. When Ghori died, Yaldaus said, I was close to Ghori. I should now rule over Delhi too. But he had no real control over Delhi. It was ruled by Aibak. So this led to a power struggle between Yaldaus and Aibak. 3. Nasiruddin Kabacha wanted independence. Another man, Nasiruddin Kabacha, was in charge of Multan and Uchi, both in present-day Pakistan. He thought, now that Ghori is dead, I will not follow anyone. I will rule on my own. So Kabacha also declared independence and refused to listen to Aibak or Yaldaus. 4. Rajput kings and Indian chiefs revolted. While these Muslim rulers were fighting each other, Indian kings saw a chance to get back their power. The Rajputs, who were earlier defeated by Ghori, now thought, the foreign rulers are fighting each other. Let's take back our... So they started wars in many... 5. Harish Chandra, son of Jaichand, took back cities. There was a famous Rajput king named Jaichand, king of Kannauj. He had earlier lost to Ghori. After Ghori's death, his successor, probably son or relative, Harish Chandra, attacked the Turks, defeated their forces, and took back cities like Badayun and Farrukhabad in present-day Uttar Pradesh. He drove out the Turkish soldiers and freed those areas. 6. Aibak's situation. Many enemies, big problems. So now, Aibak was in a very tough situation. He had to face 1. Yaldaus trying to take Delhi. 2. Kabacha breaking away. 3. Rajput kings revolted. 4. Cities like Badayun being lost. What did Aibak do? He used 2 smart strategies. Conciliatory measures equals tried to make peace or friendship with some enemies. Display of power was used his army to fight and show strength where needed. 7. Aibak defeated Yaldaus. Aibak fought Tajuddin Yaldaus and won. He told him, Delhi is mine. You have no control here. He also cut all ties with Ghazni, the former capital of Ghori. This meant, I am no longer just a governor. I am my own ruler. 8. Aibak reconquered Badayun and Farrukhabad. Aibak then turned to fight Harish Chandra, the Rajput ruler who had taken those cities. He attacked and won back. Badayun, Farrukhabad. Now, he had recovered lost territory and proved he could defend his kingdom. 9. Foundation of the slave dynasty and Delhi Sultanate. With these victories, Aibak firmly took control of northern India. That's when he started a new ruling family called the Slave Dynasty, because Aibak had once been a slave Mamluk of Muhammad Ghori. He also started the Delhi Sultanate Kingdom in Delhi. This was the 300 years of Sultanate rule in India, from 1206 to 1526. 10. Aibak becomes Sultan and rules from Lahore. Aibak called himself the Sultan, meaning king, but instead of ruling from Delhi, he made Lahore his capital city. Why Lahore? Because it was safe, it was rich, and he had loyal followers. 11. He did not issue coins, was recognized after 3 years. Usually kings issue coins with their names to show their power. But Aibak didn't do this. Maybe because he was still settling power, or was still careful not to anger other rivals. It took 3 years before he was formally accepted as the real ruler Sultan by others. Final, easy summary. Let's say this like a short, simple story. After the death of Ghori in 1206 CE, His empire started to break apart. His generals, like Yaldaos and Kabasha, wanted to rule their own areas. Indian kings like Harishchandra also tried to take back land. But Aibak was clever. He made friends where needed, fought battles when needed. He defeated Yaldaos, recovered cities, and cut ties with Ghazni. He became the first sultan of Delhi Sultanate, starting the slave dynasty. He ruled from Lahore, and after 3 years, people accepted him as king. Would you like this explained as a comic story, a mind map, a timeline of events? I can create that for you too. Here is a great, deeply detailed summary of everything about Qutbuddin Aibak and the information you asked, written in the simplest and clearest way, like a full beginner's guide. Qutbuddin Aibak, a deep, simple summary. Who was Aibak? Qutbuddin Aibak was the first ruler of the Delhi Sultanate. He started the slave dynasty, also called the Mamluk dynasty. He was originally a slave, Mamluk, bought by Muhammad Ghori, but rose to power because he was loyal, brave, and wise. After Ghori died in 1206 CE, Aibak became independent ruler of Delhi and Lahore. Aibak's good qualities. People called him Lakh Baksh, meaning giver of lakhs, because he gave huge donations, lakhs of rupees, to poor people, scholars, saints, and religious institutions. He was known for his kindness, generosity, and tolerance. Aibak's architectural works, things he built. 1. Qawatul Islam Mosque, Delhi. First mosque in India. Built near Qutub Minar in Mehrauli, Delhi. Made using materials from Hindu and Jain temples, taken after wars. It is an example of early Indo-Islamic architecture. 2. Arhai Din Ka Janpara, Ajmer. Built in Ajmer, Rajasthan. Originally a Hindu or Sanskrit college, later turned into a mosque. Name means shed of 2.5 days. Local legend says it was built fast. Mixes Hindu carvings and Islamic arches. Najr 3, Qutub Minar, Delhi. Aibak started building this famous tower, but only completed the first story. It was built in honor of the Sufi saint Qutbuddin Bakhtiar Kaki. Later, Iltutmish, his son-in-law, finished the tower and added more floors. Today, it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Aibak's support for education and literature. Aibak helped and supported writers and scholars. 1. Hassan Nizam wrote the Taj al-Masir, Crown of History, an history book about Muhammad Ghori, early Delhi Sultan. Aibak gave him money, safety, and respect to help him write. 2. Fakhruddin, known for the book Tarikh-i-Mubarak Shah, written later, but often mentioned in connection with early Sultanate support for scholars, shows that Aibak and early rulers supported historical writing. His sudden death. Aibak died in 1210 CE. He died while playing Chowgan, a game similar to horse polo. He fell from his horse, got badly injured, and died suddenly. His legacy. Aibak ruled for only about 4 years, 1206 to 1210, but his rule was very important. He laid the foundation for the Delhi Sultanate, which ruled India for over 300 years. His slave dynasty lasted for about 85 years. He showed that even a former slave could become a great king through merit, bravery, and good rule. Key points at a glance. Feature, details. Support to scholars. Title nickname, Lakh Baksh, giver of lakhs. Famous buildings, Qawatul Islam Mosque, Ardin Ka Janpara, Qutub Minar, first floor. Support to scholars, Hassan Nizam, Taj al-Masir, Fakhruddin, died 1210 CE while playing horse polo. Known for generosity, charity, architecture, support for knowledge. Legacy, founder of slave dynasty and Delhi Sultanate. In simple words, Aibak was a former slave who became a ruler. He helped poor people, built beautiful writers, and ruled wisely. He started the Delhi Sultanate and became a symbol of success, strength, and generosity. He died suddenly, but his work lived on through his buildings, his writings, and his dynasty. Would you like a comic strip? visual timeline, or infographic based on this summary. I can create that too to help you remember it perfectly. Here is a great, detailed, and very simple summary of the story of Aram Shah and Iltutmish, like you are learning for the first time. A detailed summary in simplest words. After Qutbuddin Aibak, the first ruler of the Delhi Sultanate, died in 1210 CE, his son, named Aram Shah, became the next ruler. But this change of power caused big problems. Who was Aram Shah? Aram Shah was the son of Qutbuddin Aibak. He became king after his father died. But sadly, he was a very weak ruler. He had no special leadership skills, no military strength, and was not respected. He was young, and people thought he was worthless as a king. Most importantly, he could not control the powerful nobles, called emirs, especially the Turkish nobles who had a lot of influence. What went wrong? The Turkish nobles, important and powerful people in the kingdom, were not happy with Aram Shah. They thought he would destroy the empire with his weakness, so they decided to remove him and look for someone stronger and smarter. Who was Iltutmish? Iltutmish was a smart, brave, and experienced leader. He was the governor of Badaun, a big city in North India. He was also the son-in-law of Qutbuddin Aibak, meaning he had family ties to the royal family. The nobles thought he was the perfect person to be the next king. What happened next? The Turkish nobles invited Iltutmish to Delhi. Iltutmish came with his army, fought, and removed him from the throne. After that, Iltutmish became the new sultan. He took the royal title Shamsuddin Iltutmish, which means son of the faith. Why is Iltutmish important? Although Qutbuddin Aibak started the Delhi Sultanate, it was Tutmish who made it strong. He defeated enemies, controlled the nobles, and built a strong government. He made the Sultanate stable, powerful, and respected. That's why historians say, the credit for building and strengthening the Delhi Sultanate mostly goes to Iltutmish. Final message, very simple. Aram Shah ruled for a short time, but he was too weak. The powerful nobles brought in Iltutmish, who was smart, strong, and capable. Iltutmish removed Aram Shah and became king. He is the one who truly built the Delhi Sultanate into a powerful empire. Let me know if you want a comic strip of this story, a timeline chart, a fun quiz, or a story version like a children's tale. I'll explain everything with love and simplicity, like the best teacher in the world. Certainly. Here's a great, deeply detailed summary of the life and rule of Iltutmish, explained in the simplest and most comprehensive way possible. Iltutmish, 1210 to 1236 CE. The real consolidator of Turkish rule in India. Background of Iltutmish. Iltutmish was born into the Ilbari tribe, a Turkish tribe from Central Asia. His origins were humble, and his early life was filled with struggles. He was sold as a slave by his half-brothers. Slavery during this period was common, especially for those who were seen as weaker or less powerful within the family. The half-brothers of Iltutmish were jealous and decided to sell him off to a powerful man. Qutbuddin Aibak, a powerful Turkish general, bought him. Aibak was the founder of the Delhi Sultanate and the first sultan of Delhi. Aibak, noticing Iltutmish's skills and abilities, treated him well. He even made Iltutmish his son-in-law by marrying him to his daughter. This marriage brought Iltutmish into the royal family and gave him more influence. Eventually, Aibak trusted Iltutmish enough to make him the Iqtidar of Gwalior, a very important position. An Iqtidar was a governor responsible for collecting taxes, controlling regions, and ensuring military defense. Gwalior, a strategic city in northern India, was one of his early areas of responsibility. Iltutmish becomes sultan. After Qutbuddin Aybak died in 1210 CE, his son Aram Shah briefly took the throne, but he was an incapable ruler and lacked leadership qualities. Many of the Turkish nobles, also known as emirs, didn't support Aram Shah and wanted a stronger leader. They invited Iltutmish, who was the son-in-law of Aybak, to take over as sultan. Iltutmish defeated Aram Shah and became the Sultan of Delhi in 1210 CE. His rise from a slave to a ruler is one of the most remarkable stories of overcoming adversity in history. Shifting the capital. Once Iltutmish became sultan, he decided to move the capital from Lahore to Delhi. Why is this important? Delhi was strategically located and offered more protection from external threats. Delhi would later become the most powerful city in India and the center of the Delhi Sultanate for centuries. Challenges faced by Iltutmish. Even though Iltutmish was now the sultan, he faced multiple challenges during his early years as king. 1. Rebellions from former commanders. After Muhammad Ghori's death, many of his former generals and commanders wanted to take control of the regions they had once governed. Some of these generals were Yaldaus, a former general of Ghori who wanted to claim power; Kabacha, a powerful commander in Multan, now part of Pakistan; Ali Mardan, he controlled regions in Bihar and Bengal, East India. These men rebelled against Iltutmish and tried to become independent rulers. Example: it's like a country's military leaders deciding to create their own kingdoms, rather than supporting the ruler in power. 2. Rebellions from local chiefs. Iltutmish also faced rebellions from local chiefs who controlled important regions. Chiefs from Jalore, Ranthambore, Gwalior, and Kalanjar declared independence from Iltutmish's rule. These chiefs wanted to break away from the Delhi Sultanate and rule their own areas. Example: imagine a teacher in charge of a school, but the school's top students try to make their own rules and refuse to listen to the teacher. 3. Threat from the Mongols. At the same time, the Mongols, a fearsome empire led by Chengiz Khan, were expanding their power across Central Asia and the Middle East. The Mongols were known for their brutal attacks and destruction of entire cities. They were threatening the northwest frontier of the Sultanate, near modern-day Pakistan and Afghanistan. This meant that Iltutmish had to deal with both internal rebellions and the external threat of Mongol attacks. Iltutmish's strategy to consolidate power, to protect his throne and the Delhi Sultanate, Iltutmish had to make difficult decisions and act wisely. Dealing with rivals. Iltutmish fought against his rebellious commanders and defeated those who tried to break away from the Delhi Sultanate. He re-established control over regions like Multan, Bihar, Bengal, and other rebellious areas. 2. Handling local chiefs. Iltutmish also defeated the local chiefs who declared independence. By bringing them under his control, he kept the Sultanate united. 3. Avoiding Mongol war. The Mongols under Chengiz Khan were a huge threat to the Sultanate, but Iltutmish avoided direct war with them. How did he do this? He built a strong army and fortified the frontier areas to protect against any potential attacks. He also made alliances and agreements with some of Chengiz Khan's enemies to keep peace. Iltutmish's achievements strengthened the Delhi Sultanate. Iltutmish worked tirelessly to make the Sultanate strong and stable, defeating both internal and external threats. Moved the capital. By shifting the capital to Delhi, Iltutmish laid the foundation for Delhi to become the most powerful city in India for centuries. Consolidated power. Despite many rebellions, he consolidated or unified the Sultanate and made it more powerful than before. Created a strong government. Iltutmish introduced reforms in the administration, army, and tax collection, which helped make the Delhi Sultanate prosperous. Mongol threat. He successfully avoided conflict with the Mongols and protected his kingdom. Final summary. Iltutmish was born into a slave family, but rose to become the Sultan of Delhi. He started life as a slave, was sold by his brothers, but later became the son-in-law of Qutbuddin Aybak, the first Sultan of Delhi. After Aybak's death, Iltutmish defeated his rivals, including former generals of Muhammad Ghori and local chiefs who wanted independence. He moved the capital from Here is a great, deeply detailed, and simple summary of the full passage you provided, explaining Iltutmish's military and diplomatic achievements in a clear, beginner-friendly way. Great detailed summary of Iltutmish's actions, 1215 to 1231 CE, in very simple words, deep understanding. 1. Iltutmish strengthened his rule. After becoming sultan in 1210 CE, Iltutmish had many rivals and threats. His first big goal was to make his position safe and strong. This means he wanted to remove all those who tried to challenge him and bring peace and control to the Delhi Sultanate. 2. He defeated his rivals one by one. Battle of Tarain, 1215 CE. Iltutmish fought against Yaldaus, a powerful military leader who wanted to rule Delhi. Iltutmish won the battle at Tarain, which showed he was a strong king. Punjab, 1217 CE. Another enemy, Kabacha, had taken control of Punjab. Iltutmish defeated Kabacha and got Punjab back. These early victories made Iltutmish look powerful in the eyes of both enemies and his own people. 3. Danger from Mongols. Iltutmish used clever diplomacy. In 1220 CE, Chengiz Khan, the fearsome leader of the Mongols, began invading and destroying kingdoms near India. He destroyed the Khwarezm Empire in Central Asia. The Khwarezm prince, Jalaluddin Mangbarani, ran away from the Mongols and came to Iltutmish, asking for protection. Iltutmish refused to help him. Why? Because if he helped Jalaluddin, the Mongols would have attacked India too. Iltutmish made a smart decision. By not angering Chengiz Khan, he saved India from a terrible Mongol invasion. 4. Iltutmish expanded his empire in the east. After 1225 CE, there were rebellions in eastern India, especially in Bengal and Bihar. A man named Iwaz Khan had taken control. Iltutmish sent a huge army under his son, Nasiruddin Mahmud. Nasiruddin defeated Iwaz Khan and brought Bengal and Bihar back under the Delhi Sultanate. This made the eastern part of India stable and under Iltutmish's control. 5. He also defeated several Rajput chiefs. The Rajputs were brave warrior kings in Rajasthan and central India. Iltutmish fought and defeated many of them, capturing their forts and cities. Between 1226 and 1231 CE, he captured Ranthambore, 1226. He brought under control the cities of Mandore, Jalore, Bayana, Gwalior. These victories made Iltutmish the strongest ruler in North India at that time. 6. But he failed to conquer Mewar and Gujarat. Iltutmish attacked Nagda, the capital of Mewar, but had to retreat when the Gujarat army came to help Mewar. Later, he tried to take revenge by attacking the Chalukyas of Gujarat, but his attack failed. This shows that even though Iltutmish was a powerful ruler, he couldn't win every battle. Final simple summary table. Year, event, result. 1215 CE, Battle of Tarain versus Yaldaus. Iltutmish wins. 1217 CE, drives out Kabacha from Punjab. Punjab back under Delhi. 1220 CE, Chengiz Khan invades Central Asia. Iltutmish avoids Mongol war by refusing Jalaluddin asylum. While 1225 to 27 CE, sends army under son Nasiruddin, Bengal and Bihar brought back under control. 1226 to 31 CE, campaigns against Rajputs, wins Ranthambore, Mandore, Jalore, Bayana, Gwalior. 1230s, fails at Mewar and Gujarat, and couldn't defeat Chalukyas. Nash. Why Iltutmish was important? He was a wise king, used both war and peace to keep his kingdom safe. He defeated enemies inside India and kept out dangers from outside, like the Mongols. He expanded and protected the Delhi Sultanate. He set up a strong base for future sultans to rule after him. Let me know if you'd like a comic strip, a timeline poster, a fun quiz, a map of the regions he conquered. I'm here to teach you everything like a top teacher, simply, clearly, and deeply. Sure. Here's a great, deeply detailed and simple summary of the full passage about Iltutmish's administration, reforms, and legacy, explained in easy words like a beginner-friendly history guide. Detailed summary of Iltutmish's rule and reforms, in simplest words. 1. Iltutmish divided his empire into iktas. To manage his vast empire easily, Iltutmish divided the land into small parts called iktas. Instead of paying his officers in cash, he gave them land. These officers were allowed to collect taxes from the land they controlled. This system was called the ikta system. 2. The iktadar's duties. The men who received the land were called iktidars. They had two big jobs. 1. Keep law and order, like making sure there was peace, solving crimes, and protecting the people. 2. Collect revenue, tax, from farmers and traders in their area. After collecting taxes, the iktidar would keep some money for his own salary and to pay local expenses. Send the remaining money, surplus, to the central government, the Sultan in Delhi. This way, Iltutmish saved money and still had loyal officers who took care of local regions. 3. Iktidars could be transferred. To stop any iktidar from becoming too powerful in one area, Iltutmish made sure they were transferable. This means they could be moved to another ikta any time. This helped the king stay in control and prevented rebellions. 4. Creation of the 40, Turkani Chahalgani. Iltutmish formed a new class of nobles called the Turkani Chahalgani, or simply the 40. This group was made up of 40 powerful military leaders, emirs, mostly Turks from Central Asia. They were like the king's most trusted advisors and generals, helping him run the kingdom. 5. Rise of the 40 after Iltutmish's death. After Iltutmish died, the 40 became too powerful. They started behaving like kingmakers, deciding who would become the next sultan. For a few years, they controlled the throne and ruled the kingdom from behind the scenes, often picking weak sultans they could easily manipulate. 6. End of the 40 by Balban. Later, a powerful ruler named Balban saw that the 40 were a threat to royal authority. He destroyed their power completely and restored full control to the sultan. He believed in strong kingship, where the ruler was above everyone. 7. Recognition by the Caliph of Baghdad. In the year 1229 CE, Iltutmish received an official letter called a Mansur from the Abbasid Caliph of Baghdad. This was like a certificate from the highest religious authority in the Islamic world, confirming that Iltutmish was the legal and rightful Sultan of India. This gave him respect and legitimacy in the eyes of other Muslim rulers. 8. New coinage, silver tanka and copper jital. Iltutmish was the first Indian ruler to issue purely Arabic coins. He introduced the silver tanka, a heavy and pure silver coin weighing about 175 grams. This became the model for the modern Indian rupee system. He also introduced a smaller copper coin called the jital, used for everyday trade. These coins helped make trade easier, gave the economy a stable system, and united the empire economically. Final summary at a glance. Topic, key point. Iktas, land given to officers instead of salary. Iktidars, officers who maintained law and collected taxes. Revenue system, kept some tax money, sent surplus to king. Transfers, iktidars could be moved to new places. The 40, group of 40 top Turkish nobles formed by Iltutmish. Power of 40, became kingmakers after Iltutmish's death. End of 40, Balban destroyed their power. Recognition by Caliph, Caliph of Baghdad officially accepted Iltutmish as Sultan in 1229. New coins, silver tanka and copper jital, basis of modern rupee. Why was Iltutmish important? He organized the government system of the Delhi Sultanate. He kept control by transferring officers and preventing rebellions. He built a loyal group of nobles, but didn't let them rule him. He was respected globally in the Muslim world. He started the money system that influenced India for centuries. Would you like this turned into a mind map, comic strip, or quiz to help you remember better?